Throughout the game, V is aided by various companions. 8. Consumables, like soft drinks, are used for healing, and objects can be inspected in VS inventory. 7. Minigames include hacking, boxing, auto racing, 28. Martial arts, and shooting ranges. 29. The player's in-game choices can lead to different endings. 25. Synopsis. Setting. Night City is an American megacity in the free state of North California, controlled by corporations and unassailed by the laws of both country and state. It sees conflict from rampant gang wars and its ruling entities contending for dominance. The city relies on robotics for everyday aspects like waste collection, maintenance, and public transportation. 30. 31. Its visual identity is derived from the 4 eras it underwent: austere entropism, colorful kitsch, imposing neo-militarism, and opulent neo-kitsch. 32. Homelessness abounds but does not preclude cybernetic modification for the poor, giving rise to cosmetic addiction and consequent violence. Those whose addictions and heavy cyberization have rendered them mentally unstable, often referred to as cyberpsychos, are dealt with by the armed force known as MACSTIC. 33. 34. Trauma team can be employed for rapid medical services. 35. Because of the constant threat of physical harm, all citizens are allowed to carry firearms in public openly. 36. Plot. The game begins with the selection of one of 3 life paths for the player character: V, Gavindria or Cherami Lee Nomad, Street Kid, or Corpo. All 3 life paths involve V starting a new life in Night City with local thug Jackie Wells, Jason Hightower, and working together as mercenaries with the Netrunner, T-Bug, Cynthia Kane-Williams. In 2077, local fixer Dexter Shawn, Michael Leon Woolley, hires V and Jackie to steal a biochip known as the Relic from Arezekar Corporation. They acquire the relic, but the plan goes awry when they witness the murder of the Megacorp's leader Saburo Arezekar, Meizan Tsukayama, at the hands of his treacherous son Yorinobu, Hido Kimura. Yorinobu covers up the murder as poisoning and triggers a security sweep in which Arezekar's Netrunners kill T-Bug. V and Jackie escape, but Jackie is fatally wounded in the process, and the relic's protective case is damaged, forcing V to insert the biochip into the cyberware in their head. Furious at the unwanted police attention, Dex shoots V in the head and leaves them for dead in a landfill. Upon awakening, V is haunted by the digital ghost of war veteran turned iconic rock star and terrorist Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves, believed to have died in 2023 during his own thermonuclear attack on Arezekar Tower. V learns from their reproductive vector, Michael Gregory, that Dex's bullet-triggered resurrection nanotech on the biochip, repairing the damage to V's brain but starting an irreversible process to overwrite their memories with those of Johnny, whose memory engram is stored on the chip, leaving only a few weeks before the process completes. The biochip cannot be removed without instantly killing V, so V must find a way to remove Johnny and survive. Through reliving Johnny's memories, V learns that in 2013, Johnny's then-girlfriend Aude Cunningham, Alex Wilton Regan, had created SoKiller, an artificial intelligence able to copy Netrunners' minds through their neural links. However, the process destroyed the target's brain. Arezekar kidnapped Alt and forced her to create their own version of SoKiller, which would store the minds of its targets in Arezekar's digital fortress Mikoshi. Johnny led a rescue effort to save Alt, but failed to find her before Arezekar used SoKiller on her. Johnny's later thermonuclear attack was a cover to free Alt's consciousness from Arezekar's subnet. Arezekar's head of security Adam Smasher, Alec Newman, captured him and used SoKiller on him as well. By 2077, Arezekar was advertising a Secure Your Soul program and conducting secret research into writing a digital copy of a mind into a living human brain, from which the relic arose. Eventually, V must decide whether to mount an attack on Arezekar Tower to gain physical access to Mikoshi and use Circular to remove Johnny from their body, or to make a deal with Arezekar to extract the relic. Depending upon player actions throughout the game, V can choose different options to conduct the attack. V can allow Johnny to take over and stage the attack with his former crew, suppress Johnny and mount the attack with nomad allies, mount the attack solo, or simply commit suicide. Regardless, after beating Adamant either successfully using Circular or after having Arezekar perform surgery on them, it is revealed that damage to V's body is irreversible. Depending on player choice, V either requests Arezekar to upload it into Mikoshi until a suitable host body is found, remains in their body with an uncertain life expectancy, or allows Johnny to take over permanently. If the latter is taken, Johnny pays his respects to his friends and leaves Night City to start a new life. Development. Mike Pondsmith was consulted by CD Projekt Red on the development of Cyberpunk 2077. Preliminary work on Cyberpunk 2077 began following the release of The Witcher 2, Assassins of King's Enhanced Edition, 2012. CD Projekt Red's internal development studio approached Mike Pondsmith, the writer of Cyberpunk and founder of Artalsarian Games, in early 2012, sending him a copy of The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, 2011. Impressed with the studio's unparalleled knowledge of the Cyberpunk universe at the time, Pondsmith and CD Projekt Red reached an agreement to license a Cyberpunk story from the year 2077 onward to CD Projekt Red, while Pondsmith retained the rights for media in the Cyberpunk universe set up until year 2077. To ensure Cyberpunk's story remained cohesive during development, Pondsmith served as a consultant on Cyberpunk 2077. Pondsmith's experience at Microsoft developing games such as Crimson Skies, 2000, and Blood Wake, 2001, and at Monolith Productions developing The Matrix Online, 2005, provided valuable wisdom to CD Projekt Red, in comparison to Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski's indifference towards their studio during the development of The Witcher, 2007, and The Witcher 2.37, concept. The concept of Cyberpunk 2077 was adapted from Pondsmith's Cyberpunk series. Antithetical to the stereotypical cyberpunk genre, the concepts explored in Cyberpunk evoke a sense of rebellion and whimsy while retaining the genre's grim tone. The protagonist of Cyberpunk, in comparison to the typical archetype of a hero attempting to save the world, attempts to save himself, from a downtrodden and lowly perspective. 37. Lead gameplay designer Marcin Januszewski sought to remind players of its connection to the Cyberpunk universe, writing, "We want to assure fans of the pen and paper game that this is still the same Cyberpunk you know." In comparison to CD Projekt Red's development on the Witcher series, the time difference between the events of Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk 2077 allotted the studio more freedom towards adapting the series, although they attempted to stay true to Pondsmith's original works. 38. Cyberpunk 2077, by extension, presents an alternate history, in which the United States became mired in was in Central America in the 1980s, deeply undermining its power and economy. The Soviet Union failed to dissolve and Japan became a superpower, diffusing its culture as far as California. The events of Cyberpunk 2077 take place in the fictitious Night City, a megalopolis immersed in Japanese culture that lies between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Stereotypical cyberpunk motifs, such as sadism, commercialization, cruelty, and satisfaction remain as mainstays in the political landscape of Night City. 39. A hedonistic wonderland, Night City is divided into two distinct classes: the downtrodden, house psychedelic substances and physically augmented sex workers as a form of escapism, while the elite corporate class, known as corpos, dominate society and are afforded great financial success. 40. The script was first written in Polish and translated into English, a standard practice for CD Projekt Red's games, according to Quest director Mateusz Tomaszkiewicz. 41. Technical and gameplay. Cyberpunk 2077 was developed using RE Engine 4, the fourth iteration of CD Projekt Red's internal game engine. 42. RE Engine 3, RE Engine 4's predecessor, implemented improvements to terrain and vegetation rendering. To achieve this, regions are streamed from a clipped map through a method known as clip mapping, in memory. 6 clip maps are created in total. The elevation, control map, and color clip maps are streamed, while the vertical error, normal, and terrain shadow clip maps are generated at runtime. In addition, a technique known as tessellation is used, where polygons are divided. In particular, polygon triangulation is used, where data is tessellated into triangles. The error maps are downsampled prior to hardware tessellation. This avoids costly computation, as large areas with high levels of tessellation are untrended. Furthermore, RE Engine 3 employs a radical approach to texturing. Textures are painted using two textures, a background texture and an overlay texture. For slopes, the slope angle is computed and compared against a threshold value. Creating a thick cover on slopes was made possible through boosting overlay texture when the vertex normal looked up. However, this presented complications in ground features, such as cobblestones, where improper distribution was applied. To address this, damping was added, along with blend sharpening. These measures created an ultimately low memory footprint. 43. Other advancements made by RE Engine 3 include refined animations, volumetric effects allowing for advanced rendering of particle effects, such as clouds, dynamic physics, and an advanced dialogue mimic system. These improvements allowed The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt to have a more immersive open world. 44. Although Cyberpunk 2077 was initially developed using RE Engine 3 as far back as 2013. 45. CD Projekt Red developed RE Engine 4 after facing difficulty developing the game, which used a first-person perspective, a departure from the third-person perspective CD Projekt had developed in 4 earlier iterations of RE Engine. RE Engine 4 was developed using a $7 million grant from the Polish government. 44. Nearly every aspect of RE Engine was changed as a result, including the particle effects editor. 46. CD Projekt Red continued to work on RE Engine throughout Cyberpunk 2077's development cycle, and as late as 2017. 47. Cyberpunk 2077 is the final game to use RE Engine, as future games from CD Projekt Red will instead be developed using Unreal Engine 5. 42. RE Engine 4 implemented various lighting adjustments to create a more realistic world, including hardware-accelerated ray tracing through DirectX, global illumination, diffuse illumination, and ambient occlusion. These features are not present on the console versions of the game. Other features include a physically based rendering and improvement over RE Engine 3, screen space reflections, and pin-sharp reflections, although the player's character is omitted from the bounding volume hierarchy structure generated ray-traced reflections. The player's character does appear, however, in render-to-texture objects such as mirrors. Improvements to shadows include cascaded shadow maps, screen space shadows, and ray-traced shadows with contact hardening, while improvements to character rendering include subsurface scattering and realistic skin shading. These features introduced computational complexity, testing older consoles, such as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. 48. Cyberpunk 2077 uses vertical asset streaming, or culling, a rendering technique that emits objects below and